After serving 7 years for her husband's death, 44-year-old Elena returned to her doorstep, only to be cynically cast out by the new owners like a stray dog. While she wandered with the homeless, the traders enjoyed her money and luxury, certain they had gotten rid of an inconvenient witness forever. They thought they had won, but they didn't know one chance discovery would become their fatal verdict. Hello friends, I'm Alexander and this is my latest original story. Take a break from your tasks, brew some fragrant tea, and immerse yourself in this touching story that will give you plenty to think about. But before we start, tell me where you are watching us from. I'd love to read it in the comments. Enjoy the listening. The heavy, rusty screech behind her sounded like a gunshot, severing 7 long years plucked from the calendar of her life. The iron gate slammed shut, and the echo of that sound seemed to roll across the frozen March earth, scaring off crows in the bare poplar branches. Elena stood still, not daring to take the first step. Freedom didn't smell of spring and hope as they write in books, but of wet asphalt, exhaust fumes from a passing logging truck, and the damp, rotten decay of melting snow. The air was biting. It pierced her lungs, unaccustomed to such space, and made her head spin with nausea. 44 years old. That was the number in the passport she had been given at the office along with her release papers. But from the mirror in the train station restroom, a stranger was looking back at her. That former Elena had skin that glowed like fine china and a gaze that was confident and soft. This one's face looked like a baked apple. Dark shadows like spring thaw patches lay under her eyes, and a sorrowful crease was etched at the corners of her mouth that no cream could smooth away. She adjusted the collar of her government-issued coat, gray, shapeless, and smelling of bleach and other people's misery. Her hand habitually dove into her pocket, feeling for the only treasure she had managed to carry out from behind the barbed wire. A small icon of the Mother of God the size of her palm. Elena had embroidered it at night by the light of a duty lamp, unraveling old-colored socks with thread. Red thread from a wool one, blue from a synthetic one, golden from a wrapper found in a neighbor's parcel. This rough fabric now warmed her fingers better than any fur muff. The commuter train to Moscow was half empty. Elena sat by the window, trying not to let her shoulder touch her neighbor, a sullen man in work coveralls. Gray copses drifted by summer cottage settlements with fences blackened by moisture and endless rows of garages. The world had changed in 7 years. The people in the carriage weren't looking at each other. Everyone was staring into the glowing rectangles of their phones, moving their fingers across them with detached expressions. Elena felt like an alien, washed up on the shore of a time that had moved far ahead. She needed to get home. That word pulsed in her temples, drowning out the clatter of the wheels. Home to Sosnovy Bor. Beyond the high-wrought iron fence lay her life and her garden, where by spring, the buds on her favorite Antonovka apple tree were likely already swelling. Her daughter, Anechka, who should have turned 14. Her husband, Igor. A sharp, familiar pang pierced her heart. Igor had been murdered. 7 years ago, the investigator showed her crime scene photos, shoving reports in her face. She remembered nothing. Darkness, a void, then handcuffs and a verdict. But home was her fortress. Even if her husband was gone, the walls remembered their mistress. The gated community met her with an unfriendly silence. It used to be simpler here. The hedge, the smiling watchman, Uncle Pasha. Now the pine woods resembled an impenetrable fort. The fences had grown by a meter. They had topped them with barbed tape, and video cameras stared everywhere like black pupils. Elena approached the familiar gate. The ironwork had changed. Instead of graceful grapevines, there were now predatory, sharp spikes reaching for the sky. She pulled an old key from the lining of her coat. She had kept it like a talisman, sewing it into the seam back at the detention center. With trembling fingers, their skin coarsened by the sewing machine, she tried to insert the key into the gate's lock. The metal clinked, but it wouldn't fit. The lock was different, now electronic, with a blinking red light. "Hey, lady, step away from the gate." The voice cut through the air like the crack of a whip. The gate swung open and a security guard stepped out, a young man of about 25 in a black uniform that hung loosely on him. He chewed gum, moving his jaws lazily, and looked at Elena as one wooded dirt stuck to a shoe. "I need to go in." Elena's voice wavered, breaking into a rasp. She cleared her throat, trying to regain the remnants of her former dignity. I live here. This is my house. The guard spat into the melting snow, not ceasing his smirk. Your house, lady, is at the heating plant. Get out of here before I call the police. This is private property, a restricted facility. You don't understand. She stepped toward him, reaching out her hand as if seeking support. I am the owner, Elena Berestova. Call Igor. Call someone in charge. At that moment, a low guttural growl echoed from deep within the yard. Elena froze. She would have recognized that sound out of 1,000. Hera, she called out. And the tears she had been holding back since morning suddenly rose to her throat in a hot lump. Harachka, my girl. A huge German shepherd flew around the corner of the house, rattling the chain stretched along a cable. The dog lunged toward the gate, rearing up on its hind legs, spraying saliva. But in its eyes, once loyal and intelligent, only fury splashed now. It didn't recognize her. Over 7 years, the scent of its mistress had faded, vanished, dissolved into the smell of prison slop and bleach. To Hera, she was just a stranger, a vagrant in a gray coat. Hera, it's me, whispered Elena, feeling the last thin string inside her snap. The dog barked dully, viciously, choking on its own barking. That's it, I've had enough. The guard had lost his patience. He stepped forward and shoved Elena hard in the chest. She couldn't keep her balance. Her feet, in old worn-out